So we talked about the transformations here, and the transformations that they gave us, they were never giving us a new radius. It was just, hey, we're going to move this circle to a new position. So little box here that has all the stuff that we were talking about, which would be our little x squared plus y squared equals r squared when it's centered at 0, 0. But basically the one formula that people remember the most is going to be x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. And what's unique about that is everything is squared. You know, we've got the x term is squared, the y term is squared, and the r term is squared when we have a circle. So if we use that one, and they say, hey, this has a center at 0, 0, big deal. We can put those zeros in there and get x squared plus y squared equals r squared. So if you're into memorizing, that would be the one to memorize. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Because that'll work for all circles. Pardon me. And over here in the drawing, they're just showing how by making a new center, h and k, we really are taking the circle and moving it right, left, up, and down, and we are really translating. And so it is just an h, k translation. Down here it says, use a graph to write an equation. Okay, let's start thinking. There's 3 things I need. I need to know where the vertex is, and I'm going to need an x and a y coordinate for that. And then I'm going to need to know what the radius is. That's it. That's what makes a circle. Here's the center, here's the radius. So it says, which equation up here is going to model this nice little circular irrigation system? If you've ever been out to the southwestern part of the United States in spring or summer, you start flying over and you look down, circles everywhere. What is up with that? You know, because in Minnesota, if you fly over Minnesota, there's a lot of rectangular regions for farms. And that's because we don't necessarily need irrigation for everything. But in the Southwest, if you don't have water, nothing grows. So when you look down, there's green circles everywhere because that's where the irrigation systems work. So this one says we've got a center right here at 450 and 500, and that the radius center out to the outside of the circle is 400 feet. That's exactly what I needed. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. I need an h, I need a k, and I need an r. They gave me that. They said the center is at 450, so x minus 450 squared plus 500, y minus 500 squared equals, and now the fun part, 400 squared. And this one was multiple choice, so it's quite possible they left it that way. Let's go back up and take a peek. X minus 450, y minus 500. Hey, here's a good one. 160,000. Oh, well, maybe we better square that and see what it is. So 400 squared, 4 times 4 is 16, and then we need 4 zeros. But let me go ahead and put it up here so everybody can see. 160,000. Every once in a while, when the numbers get really big, they won't actually do the squaring. They will just leave it 400 squared. Well, that's what he says. X minus 450 squared plus y minus 500 squared equals 160,000. Huh, there it is right there. Now, it is multiple choice, and just like your final exam, we don't want to be impulsive, so we should look at the other answers. Oh, no, this one's backwards. And they've got pluses in there, that's not right. Minus 450 and minus 500 is good, but they forgot to square the 400. Pluses, no, the formula has minuses in it. So then we're absolutely sure that A is the correct answer for that one. So it's a word problem, but it's not. It's a word problem with a picture. And pictures make things go a lot easier. This says, what is the equation of a circle for a circular irrigation field that has a radius of 12 and a center of 7, negative 10? Well, those are the exact numbers that we needed. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. All right. Well, what do I put in for h? What do I put in for k? plus 10 squared equals, and then we put the 12 in there, and 12 squared is 144. Done. Write equations for circles. Not a big deal. So B says, now let's think about what we've been doing. Will the graph of every equation of this form, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared, where h, k, and r are real numbers, will it be a circle? Well, absolutely it will be a circle. Because remember we talked about how a circle has a center and then a constant distance all the way around? This comes from the distance formula. So, yes. By the distance formula. That was not a formula that just popped out of thin air. You know, we derived that using the distance formula. And the distance formula is not going to change from one day to the next. So there it is. So far, if we just stopped right now, writing equations for circles and graphing circles, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. On circles. Okay, looking pretty good. Because you got to kind of step it up. Here's why. They don't all come to establish. We would love it if they did. We'd love it if every single one of them came. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Super easy, right? Well, they don't always do that. So we can find the center and the radius of a circle by rewriting equations in standard form. And what that means is we have to remember how to complete the square. Remember, completing the square is what lets us take something that looks like this and write it like this. That's how we need it to look. Because then we'll be able to say, okay, the x-coordinate vertex is -2. And we can use that. So we have to remember how to complete the square. Now, A, that one's already done for us here. It says, what are the center and the radius of the circle of the given equation? So these have the nice squares already in them. So I'm just going to compare that and grab the information that I need. So be careful now. What's the center of this circle? 16. Good. -9. You have to watch for when that negative turns to a positive. That means they put a negative in there. So that is the center. If r squared is 144, what was that? Well, it was. Beautiful, easy, incredibly beautiful and easily done when we have something in the right form. But look at the next one. That's not in the right form. Oh. So we have to figure out how am I going to get it that way. Well, first off, x's have to be grouped with other x's and y's have to be grouped with other y's. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take x squared plus 8x and just kind of group it over here by itself. And then I'm going to put y squared minus 10y back here equals 8. Because what I have to do is figure out what number is going to complete the square. Oops, I forgot to do a little plus in front of y squared. But what I do to one side, I have to do the other. And I'm not just going to do this once. I'm going to do it twice. Because I want something with x's in parentheses squared, and I want something with y's in parentheses squared. So that means I'm going to have to complete the square twice. Now, all of this hinges on our memory of a teeny little formula that gives us the number to go in those boxes. So you remember that teeny little formula. B/2 squared. So over here in your lines, let's put this. CTS, completing the square. B/2 squared. All right, so it's ax squared plus bx plus c. Ax squared plus b, 8. B is 8. Okay, so 8 divided by 2 squared. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And 4 squared is 16. So in my green box here, I'm going to need to add a 16. What I do to one side, I have to do the other. Now I have to go through the same process for the y's. AY squared plus BY, oh, there it is, negative 10. Negative 10 divided by 2 squared is negative 5 squared, which is 25. So this is going to have to be a plus 25, and this is going to have to be plus 25. All right. That's a huge step. Huge. Because now I know the stuff with the x's, I can write as something squared. And the stuff with the y's, something squared. And over here, I can do a little math. So 8 plus 16 is 24. 24 plus 25, oh, I like that number. It's 49. So now all I have to do is ask myself, what do you square to get x squared? X. And what did I square to get that 16? 4. What do you square to get y squared? Y. What did we square to get 25? Oop, that one was back here. That was a negative 5. Now it looks like. So now what we need to do is find the center. So carefully tell me what the center is. Negative 4 and 5. Good. And what's the radius? Excellent. Square root of 49 is 7. Again, we're not doing positive or negative. It doesn't make sense to say that. Cool. So, sometimes they come prepackaged, looking really nice. Sometimes we have to do some work. And this would be a great time for me to check on you to see whether or not you be a candy partner and let you go after these. With just the problem we just did. 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, and how you feel. Remember, that's going to be a little bit of completing square. Those are pretty good numbers, and some of you already do it. You know what? I'm going to give you candy partners. Go ahead and go after 4A and 4B. I got some people going 4s on this one. Excellent. Sorry, Courtney? That's probably not the first one everybody's going to need that partner for. The second one. All right, Candy over there. Should be a group of 3 mystery double suckers. Everybody else should have just one partner. Find your partner. Go talk. What did you do for A? What did they do for A? And then the B is the one that's probably going to take you a little bit of finagling. Clean, completely frustrated. So with b, x squared minus 6x gets grouped together, plus y squared plus 14y gets grouped together, and then you have to do the b over 2 squared. So you come up here and you say, all right, it's negative 6. Negative 6 divided by 2 would be negative 3 squared. That's a 9. I'm going to have to add 9 both sides. Then you go to the y's and you say to yourself, 14 divided by 2 is 7. 7 squared is 49. I have to add that to both sides. But the good news is, this is now x minus 3 squared. This is now y plus 7 squared, because that's what we squared to get those numbers. And on the other side, a not so precious little number there. Yeah. So the center is nice and easy to pick out. The center is at 3, negative 7. And that's because if the sign changes, you know that they had to put a negative in there to make that happen. But the radius is kind of nasty because it's the square root of 66. Now, if we're going to graph it, yes, we can pop that into the calculator and say 8 point something of it. But they didn't ask us to graph this one, so we could just stop and say, okay, R is the square root of 66. In the back of the book, you probably find what was it, 8.1 something.
Very good.
So there it is. So the last thing we have to do is graph. That's it. And I saw some of you already going ahead and doing the graphing, so it can't be that bad, right?
It's terrible.
Alrighty. What is the graph of this? 2 things we need. We need the center and we need the radius. So I think you're already pretty good at this. Tell your partner where the center of this circle is.
You don't want to
The partner.
I was going.
Tell your partner what the radius of that circle is.
25.
So here's what we do. We're going to go to negative 1, 3, and we're going to make a dot. Negative 1, 1, 2, 3, make a dot. And now we're going to go 5 units out in every direction. It's easiest to do right, left, up, and down. So we just count 5 in every direction.
I made a diamond.
And that's how most people start out. We just try to do the best you can to round it off.
They get the point.
You know what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be. So, the got it down here. Talk to your partner about where your center is and what your radius is. Get it drawn. See what you have.
What happens if the radius goes off the graph? I guess it's over.
Sure, everybody. 4, negative 2. What was your radius? 7. So 4, negative 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 2. And yes, you do realize that going 7 units is going to take you a little bit off the grid. Like I said, if you're just going 1 or 2 off the grid, it's not that big a deal. But if you're starting to go 5 or 6 off the grid, that's just too much. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And 7, and then you just do the best you can. Yeah, get off the phone.
Bird cage it now. Bird cage it.
Oh, that's a bad one. Yeah. Not real circular there. Alrighty, thank your partner for their wonderful help. You did a great job.
Cyril, I'm serious. Put that phone in the bird cage.
Who's got the phone out now?
Bill.
Bill?
Look, it's out on his desk. It's still lit up. That's how it stays, actually. Oh, no.
I don't know if I believe that one. Don't believe that.
Get it in jail. It's like crimes out here. Bird cage.
That would be very unlike Bill.
Are you kidding?